as companies get larger, they get more fragmented and shy away from that because there's one group that's doing the website sales, and there's another group that does Amazon, and there's another group that does emails, and there's another group that does social, and they don't talk. And I find that to be absolutely detrimental to the business.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Exact Digital Podcast. Today, I'm joined with Phil Masiello, founder and CEO of CrunchGrowth, a marketing agency that specializes in scaling brands, digital advertising, and strategic brand positioning across multiple industries. Phil has a deep entrepreneurial background, having built a solid multiple successful businesses from e-commerce to consumer products. At CrunchGrowth, his focus is on helping brands scale smartly, leveraging the right mix of CTV, digital marketing, and influencer collaborations to drive results. In this episode, we'll dive into how brands can move from $5 million to $50 million in revenue, why traditional digital ads don't work the way that they used to, the power of connected TV and influencer marketing in today's landscape, and how agencies and brands should be thinking about strategic partnerships. Hey, Phil, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thanks, Kenzie, for having me.
Of course. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, like always.
Do you guys see his setup? He is ready for a podcast. He does this all the time. He's got better backlighting than me. It's very moving.
Well, I do a show. I left that out of the intro, but I do a TV show actually on an OTT channel. So.
Oh yeah, y'all got to check that out. So you've built and scaled multiple businesses. What lessons from your entrepreneurial journey have shaped the way you run CrunchGrowth today?
I have scars. I did a talk a couple of weeks ago, and I opened it up and I said it was two entrepreneurs, and I said, I founded 10 different businesses in my life, and everybody goes, ooh, ah. And I said, yeah, only 4 were successful, including CrunchGrowth. I said, so, there's a lot of scars and a lot of learnings in there. But, the biggest learning, well, the reasons that, my first startup, which I did at 27, I failed because it was a lack of leadership and a lack of process management. I really wasn't as good at that I thought I was. I thought I knew much more than I did. The other things I learned along the way from failure is that sometimes I jump too quickly into an idea that I think is going to be great. I go, oh, I think this is going to be great. And I jump into it. And then I realize, well, I didn't do enough studying. But, the keys are really, having a plan. Growth does not happen. Scaling does not happen by accident. I don't care who you are. You have to have a plan. Even the ones that scale quickly, they had a plan. The Grazes, the Truffs, Glossier, they all had a plan. So you have to have a plan, and you have to have an idea of where you want to go. And then the other big thing is there's always this old saying that you should surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And I just never bought into that. You want to surround yourself with people that share the same vision as you. And then you have to start building a team. And the other piece about building a team is as you scale, as you get to 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, you have to continually reevaluate that team. There are times when that same team can get you from 0 to 5 million, may not be the team you need to get from 5 to 20 million. So you have to continually evaluate your team, and you have to continually evaluate yourself, because there may be a time, and I've gone through this, where I've Peter Principled out, or I've gotten to the point where I cannot get this business from 20 million to 100 million. I may stay involved, similar to the way Steve Wozniak stayed involved at Apple, but I know what my capabilities are. And it's okay to say, I'm not qualified to do this. It's okay. The other thing, the big one that I learned is everybody today, I think, looks at raising capital when you're scaling a business as some sort of badge of honor. And it's not. you should be very careful about when you're raising capital and when you need it and if you need it, and look at other alternatives, because it's really not a badge of honor when you look at the effects of raising capital and the strain it puts on the business, and it changes your direction. And now you've got people that want a return on their dollar. They're not listening to what your vision is any longer. So you have to be very careful. So I would say those are the big ones that I learned is team building. Make sure that you have a vision and a plan, and then make sure you understand what you need to do to raise capital to get your business off the ground or even scaling.
Absolutely. And I have a feeling that you learned all of that from when you failed, but failure is not a thing. It is only growth. So you wouldn't have been able to be where you are today if you would have never had those failures.
Oh, I still do. And the thing where all those, what all the learning has done over the years for us in this business that we're in today, Crunch Growth, is that when we talk to clients and we say, hey, look, you know, you want to do TV advertising, let me tell you how to do it correctly. And I'm telling you this because I can tell you that in two businesses, I wasted X millions of dollars doing TV advertising because I did it wrong. And so I've learned how to do it, and we've learned how to do it correctly, and we've taken all these learnings. So when we talk to our clients, we're not talking to them like an agency. We're talking to them like almost as coaches to say, look, we've gone through this before. And I don't care how big they are. I mean, we have some clients that are very, very big, and we still talk to them the same way. We talk to the CEO or whoever, whoever it is, and say, look, we're giving you this guidance because we have the scars, not just because we want you to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, speaking of that, you worked with exclusive brands and not just sellers. Can you break down the difference between why the distinction is so important?
Absolutely. We only work with brands. We a brand builder has the mentality of making a connection with the customer. They're building something that transcends just selling a product. And that's the mentality that they have. And those are the people we want to work with. Sellers are transactional. That's, I want to spend $2 on ads and I want to get $6 back. And, they're very transactional focused. They're not building a brand. They're not creating value. Their messaging is always sell, 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 sell. And that's just not, it doesn't work well for us. We just don't, we're in a position where we can be very choosy and picky. We like people who are building brands, who are talking to the customer in their ads. In today's environment, you can't take the same approach that was taken 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You have to make a connection. People today, people under 45, which is really the core of shoppers, want to know who they're buying from. They want to know what that brand stands for. They want to know who founded that brand. That's why social media and social selling has become so important, and why video has become so important, because the founders can make a connection with the buyer. And that's what people want. That's what they expect. Here's a bit of um, information. And a friend of mine has a company where they analyze video for big companies, Coca-Cola, all around the world. And he came back and said to me a couple of weeks ago, he said, it takes a prospective customer 7.5 hours of consuming content, your content, before they make a decision about whether or not they want to do business with you. And so that's why social and all the content you put out, long form content, short form content, blog posts, all that has to be meaningful. And sellers don't do that. Sellers are strictly focused on, I just want to run ads and make and sell my product. And on Amazon, you can do that to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, it's not long term. Those are the guys it's a race to the bottom, because then somebody's going to come around and pick you off. It's much more difficult to pick off a brand. They have something to stand for. It's very easy to pick off sellers.
No, absolutely. And customers, like you mentioned, are wanting to connect with people. They're no longer wanting to be sold to. They read it, they
Right.
know it. We're consuming media at all times. So it's almost like the population has become a little more in tune with marketing and selling. So it's a part of almost every single person's conversation, maybe daily. I mean, every, like I think you mentioned in our pre-podcast meeting that, the grandparents all the way down to the children are affected by this. They talk about this, they communicate, oh, did you see this ad? Or this is crazy how people do things. So they're catching on. And it's not like, I don't mean in a tricky way they're catching on, but it's okay. That means relax. You can be your business now and have that relationship with them rather than thinking, oh, I need to sell, sell, sell.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times the content isn't ad content. It's just content that you've created. My 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 children who are in their 20s, they're looking for products on TikTok. They're looking for things that are neat and interesting, especially when it comes to beauty products or household products. They're going to the TikToks of the world, and they're trusting the people who are creating that content. They pay attention, they watch. My wife looks for fitness people because so she can work out with them, and she winds up looking at she can dissect the ones that are frauds and the ones that are really really into it, and then she watches them for a while before she makes a decision as to whether or not she wants to get involved with their program, and we see more and more of it. So again, brands are taking advantage of that, and brands are creating that environment and creating that connection with the customer, which at the end of the day makes a long lasting engagement. Sellers, that's just it's fleeting.
Absolutely. And your agency is known for scaling brands from 1 million to 50 million plus. What's the biggest challenge brands find at that stage, and how do you help them overcome it?
This is a great conversation because we just did this part. I also do a little bit of coaching, right? And we just had a strategy session with a brand that we work with. Great brand. They do about $20 million a year, and they went from 0 to 20 million in about 5 years. But they're stuck. They're stuck at this 20 million point, and they couldn't get over it. And so we were talking to them, and I said, "Look, we'll do a little bit of a strategy session." And what it comes down to, entrepreneurs, and I am one of them, are very, we have an idea, we have a plan. Sometimes we write that plan down. Sometimes we can communicate that across the entire company. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's, it happens, right? But when you get to 20 million and you're trying to get to 50 million, it's time to start documenting it. And I'm not saying build a huge business plan. We do a one-page business plan. But at this point, you lay out everything you're trying to achieve in 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goals. And you're putting who's responsible for that and what are the interim rocks that you have to push away in order to get there. And so that helps people to scale, because then you can start assessing again whether or not you have the right team to do that, because you may wind up with, like I said before, the team that got you from 0 to 20 million may not be the team that's going to get you from 20 to 50. And unfortunately, that's a reality of life. You know, it's not that
Yeah.
they're bad people. It's just that, uh, and big companies have gone through that, right? Larry Ellison at Oracle, back in the 90s, Oracle was not what it is today. It was still growing, and they had a significant bump in the road. They almost went bankrupt. And what he did, when he evaluated his team, he realized that the team that got them from 0 to 100 million couldn't get them over the hump, and he had to make a total change. Certainly, they parted as friends, but he realized that, and he liked those people. They were together for all that time, but it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, and I think, recognizing that and being able to move forward amicable is really important because everyone has a part in a situation, a life, work, business, and they were that stepping stone and they helped you. You probably learned from them, but it's okay to let go and move forward, and maybe they'll move forward too in their own direction, and then
Sure,
you'll meet back at some point. But holding on can sometimes be a crutch.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And so moving on a little bit to a different subject. So you have strong views on traditional digital ads versus newer strategies like CTV and influencer marketing. Why do you think many brands are still stuck on the old models?
I think that they don't understand it. They don't understand connected TV. They hear TV and they think traditional TV. And believe me, I have tons of scars on traditional TV. Traditional TV was just you're throwing your ad out there. The media buyers would tell you, oh, you have to be on this channel, this channel. You're targeting by channel, and then they come back to you with impressions. Wasn't trackable to get to the website, but connected TV is very trackable and very remarketable online. So it's a combination of both, right? You're running these connected TV ads, but think about connected TV. Think about how we're using and how we're consuming TV today, right? You get on Netflix, I get on Netflix. You and I could be watching the exact same program in the exact same room at the exact same time, but you're going to see a different ad than I see because it's targeted. It's highly targeted. And not only that, after you, if you interact or don't interact with that ad via a QR code or however, we can remarket to you online. So now you've seen this ad, and now we're remarketing to you online. The traditional ads today are not able. Video is a much better platform for connecting with customers. And I don't care where that video resides. It could reside on traditional digital. But I see people, the costs of connected TV and the costs of OTT advertising have come down so dramatically, right? It used to only be if you're spending $20,000 or $30,000 a month, you could get on the demand side platforms, DSPs, to handle this targeting, right? Because that's where the magic happens, right? If you have a great DSP and you're able to target correctly and you understand targeting, then you're going to get great results. But people don't. And what they buy into is the bright, shiny objects, the agencies that run these ads on Facebook saying, I can get you a 10x return. I can do this. I can do that. And they go and they chase it. Well, the reality is meta ads, they have a place, but I wouldn't be spending more than a couple of $1,000s a month on meta ads. Maybe 5,000 max, because that sort of comes across in a very traditional way to people. If we go back to what we were talking about before about making a connection, most people are reacting to the organic content you're making. When you start looking at TikTok performance, as soon as it says sponsored, you get very few views, right? Very few views. But if you take that same content and you just push it out there and do the right things with the right hashtags and building the right audience, you get much, much better results. The audience today looks at sponsored ads as just traditional, you're trying to sell me and that's it. Whereas connected TV, they expect ads, but if you do the ads in a beautiful way, in a great way, you follow some of like maybe the Harmon brothers or guys like that, where they make really funny videos like Dr. Squatch and, Squatty Potty and things like that, that really connected with people, they become memorable, make you laugh. So those ads are far more effective, right? When you're just scrolling through when you're just scrolling on Facebook and you start to see these ads, they're just not as effective.
Absolutely. And I think that also goes back to video. If you do want those meta ads to be effective, it's really important for the video to feel like they are having a problem solved because they can see that it's sponsored. So they want someone to be connecting with them or having a conversation, just maybe videoing yourself on your phone in a car, talking about, your struggles and how this product helped you overcome those struggles rather than, oh, I'm perfect. Look at this beautiful ad and you can be perfect too. Like we're done with that.
You're 100% right. It's just, they all follow the same format and it just drives me insane. I'll tell you, we launched a business early on. In the early 2000s, a beauty business with a woman named Carol Alt. And we launched on the shopping channels, on Home Shopping Network in the United States, Shopping Channel in Canada. We were one of the first brands on Amazon when Bezos opened up the platform to other sellers. And we also had our website. And it really hit home. And it's still applicable today. I love the shopping channels because we took that learning on how to sell visually, right? Because when you really watch it, it's not a hard sell. It's a soft sell, very benefit focused. They're always talking about the benefits. Yes, you focus on the features a little bit, but then you get to the benefits very clearly. And we take that learning that we've gotten over all those years, and we guide brands on social to how to create video to do that very thing, to use that same sort of methodology of the soft sell where you're focusing on benefits. Like you said, this is solving a problem for me, and here's how it solved that problem. But I'm not telling you to buy it, buy it, buy it. Here, click now, click now. That methodology, almost like the direct response TV style, is sort of dead in the water. People don't want to be, they don't want to be sold, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many reasons for that. It's maybe the influx of media for so many years, maybe COVID, maybe AI. There's so many reasons why we're just done with it. So, like I mentioned a little bit before, just, be yourself, be your brand, and try and connect with your audience and tell them why they should potentially purchase your product, but more so solving their problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you take a look at the brands that have really done a great job of scaling the last 10 years, there's a personality behind them, right? Glossier. She had a blog first before she even launched her first product. She had a blog where she built an audience talking about skincare, talking about beauty, talking about all these different things. And then she launched her product. She had a built-in audience, 1 million people. They followed her. They understood her. They trusted her for her recommendations. You look at Graza, which just upended the olive oil business. What did they do? It was a couple of guys who said, it's not complicated. The olive oil industry made this whole thing complicated. Here's the olive oil you need to cook with, and here's the olive oil you need to put on your salad. That's it. And they put it in a very usable container. Truff, another great one with hot sauce, did a phenomenal job, but they all have a personality behind them. You look at the brands that you gravitate to, your friends gravitate to. These all have a personality behind them, and that personality is authentic. That personality is telling their story, and that's what people want. They want to connect to that person, trust that person, right? That's why micro influencers are having are doing so well for brands today, because micro influencers have an audience and people have trusted them now. They're building an audience and they've built up trust. So when they say, hey, look, I just found this product and I'm starting to use it, people believe them.
Phil, you have answered 4 of my questions without me even asking them. So you can tell you have a show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my next one was about micro influencers and then also DSPs. So,
Yeah.
well,
Look,
many companies waste marketing dollars without solid strategy. So, what's the biggest waste of budget that you've seen happening right now?
the biggest waste of budgeting that I see are on traditional ads and not thinking outside the box, right? We have brands that say, okay, we're going to up the spend. We want to get to, we're going to spend 20, 30,000 this month. And I go, why don't we peel $10,000 off and do it this way? Just, divert that. Well, we have really good results with Meta. Okay. But how long do you think those results are going to hold? Right. We have to change it up a bit. I think that, and the second one is bad creative. It's bad. We spend so much time building bad, not us, but some of these brands spend so much time building bad creative, and they're trying to take almost a traditional approach to it. And your creative needs to, even no matter what you do, your creative has to express that connection to the customer. It all has to work together. You can't use video to build a connection and then run an ad that says, 25% off, buy me today. You have to do some of that at the right times during the year, but you can't do it every week and just start pounding, 25% off sales, right? Your emails that go out, your automation emails that go out, your ads, your video, your content on social, your content on your website, all have to be singing the same tune. And And in a lot of times, as companies get larger, they get more fragmented and shy away from that because there's one group that's doing the website sales, and there's another group that does Amazon, and there's another group that does emails, and there's another group that does social, and they don't talk. And I find that to be absolutely detrimental to the business.
Absolutely. It's a whole story. It is. It really is. You focus heavily on long-term growth versus quick wins. What mindset shifts do brands need to make to scale successfully?
They have to think about the long term. They have to think about making that connection. It's not overnight. You don't just come out with a couple of videos and they go, oh, the customer loves us. It's a long term strategy. And like I said, it has to infiltrate every part of the business, every piece of communication. What happens on your website has to look, feel, and sound the same way that you're talking on Amazon and that you're talking on email and that you're talking on social media. All of them have to work together to interact. And I'm a firm believer in brands doing long form content on YouTube, talking about a great one that just happened that I just saw. Now it's an old product. God, it's been around for decades. All right, Dramamine. That's what it's not Dramamine, but it's it's Dramamine. And they did a 30-minute video on YouTube talking about how to use it, when to use it, but they made it fun and they made it funny, and people were engaging with it. And I thought it was a great use of long form video. And so I think brands need to start using a mixture of all these pieces: long form content, short form content, written content, website, etc., to all get your message out that you want to get out, which is, what is the benefit of using your product? Why should I use your product? And this doesn't just go for brands, by the way. This is also, and I'm sure you get, LinkedIn every day. I probably get, 50 connection requests, and they all start out the same way, right? I can 10x your sales. I can do this for you. I can do this for you. Well, you haven't made a connection with me. I don't know you. You think that I'm just going to go and buy your product? Oh, let me go and change my my advertising platform to use you because you just hit me up on LinkedIn. That doesn't work. It doesn't work for consumers. It's not going to work for me.
No, you're so right, because it's all about that long-term relationship. And there used to be this interesting thing in sales, and it's like, assume the sell. And I just don't buy that. Like, come on now, let's build a relationship and see if we'll even work. Cause like, would you even want me as a customer? Like, am
Right.
I even the right fit? You don't even know me.
Right. It's the same exact methodology. Talk to a consumer, you're talking B2B, right? Because obviously, to grow, we have to do outreach. I don't do it that way. I don't send out nonsense emails to people that just say, hey, I've got this great, advertising platform, or I've got this great marketing company and you should switch to me. No, we do it a little bit differently, and we do a lot on LinkedIn, but I don't talk to people about the business until I've sent them at least 7 or 8 messages and made comments on their posts and shared information. Then they feel like they know me. Then I can start getting into, I think we can help you, right? But by
Right.
then I've built a relationship with them.
And you've actually been able to like observe them and see if they would be a
Sure,
good fit for you and learn maybe what direction you could help them in. And it's beneficial for both.
absolutely. The old
And
style, yeah, that old style, like you said, that old style of, assume the sale. It's dead.
absolutely. And even in with when we're trying to market to consumers, you could do testing. Like that's what it kind of equates to. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna test these two different market groups. I think it's gonna be market group A. It might be B, so I'm gonna do both. And then you might be surprised it's probably B, and then you pull A and you rework it and push it back in. It's just, it's kind of a conversation happening.
It's absolutely a conversation happening. It's a back and forth conversation happening, and that's how you have to approach it. Again, this generation under 45, they don't want you to sell to them in a traditional way. They don't.
No,
You know.
I mean, you see it on, it's me being that group. We've seen it on TV, movies. It's gimmicky. It's almost like satire now.
Right. Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely is. People make fun of it all the time, but you have to give them the reason why. Why should I buy your product? Right? Why should I? It's my money and I don't want to spend it frivolously. So what's the benefit to me of buying your product? And if you just keep telling me it's 25% off or 10% off or 15% off or, act now before it's sold out, I don't care. And they tune out.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, you know, speaking on that a little bit, it's really important to have that omni-channel approach. And you touched on that for a moment. In the digital ad space, since that's what our agency does, what are some platforms other than just CTV that you like to utilize?
Well, we still utilize Google. We still utilize YouTube, YouTube ads. We still utilize Meta to a certain extent. So all those platforms have a place, but you have to build an approach, right? If somebody comes to us and says, look, we want to start advertising and we have X dollars to spend, we'll put a whole program together. And a lot of it has to do with not necessarily traditional ads, right? We may say, well, we're going to spend X dollars, allocate X dollars for product to go to influencers. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. So all those places have a place. Newsletters in certain cases have a place to advertise in. Email marketing has a place, right? Not just to your customers, but there may be some other opportunities to build on your email platforms. So all those things have a place, but there isn't any one that's applicable that I could say, well, we put all the money into Google ads or we put all the money into YouTube ads. They all have sort of a place. And the thing about the DSPs, which when you're when you're spending money, if you run it all through like a DSP, you're highly targeting who your customer is, right? You have to know, this is another thing that is really a key to all advertising. You have to know everything about your customer. You have to study your customer. You can't just say, well, we have a product. We were in the shaving business. I started a shaving company. And you could argue everybody shaves, right? Oh, well, we run ads because everybody shaves. But it's not true. Everybody shaves, but everybody's already got a razor pretty much, right? So now you're trying to convert somebody. So who's the easiest ones to convert? And that's, a specific group of people, right? And then you can target, right? Women in the shaving business was different. But you have to know who your customer is. You have to build a buyer persona. And that enables you to do a lot better targeting. The DSPs are great for hyper targeting, right? And then your ads are showing on multiple platforms, right? Whether it could be on Meta, it could be on Google, but it could be on newsletters, it could be on other sites, it could be all over the place. And it depends on really where you're targeting.
Absolutely. And, people shave differently. They're, especially people now, not all men shave, not all women shave. Some women
Right.
just shave their legs. Some women shave their arms and maybe their armpits and, other areas. So
Yeah, yeah.
it just depends. Everyone's different, and being able to find what your specific market is so important.
Yeah, you have to know your customer inside and out. And one thing, it's every people make fun of me in the company, in our company, and some of our clients because they hear me say the same thing all the time, and I've been saying it for decades. Old partners of mine will also make fun of me for saying it because they used to bring up something, and I'd say, well, who's the customer? Who's the customer for that? And if you can't answer the question, right, then we have to dig because we have to understand who the customer is. And today we have access to so much data that we can tell who the customer is. But it amazes me that how many brands don't really understand who their customer is. They think they do, but deep down inside they really don't. And sometimes we know more about their customer because we're looking at the data, and even if we're feeding it back to them, we know more about their customer, and they'll come in and say, we want to do this and this and this. I say, well, that's not really your customer. Oh, yes, it is. And I'll say, well, let me show you who your customer is. So we're very big on building a buyer persona, and that may change over time, right? You still have to adjust it, but you always, I think you can never spend enough time understanding who the customer is and understanding the problems that you may have that you may not know about. Every CEO that I talk to, everyone, I tell the same thing to. Every Friday, go and talk to customer service. Every Friday, they should give you a list of at least 5 or 6 customers that had a terrible experience with your business. Terrible experience, right? Terrible experience with your product, and call them. Call them, send them a message. I don't care how you get in touch with them. Say, I'm the CEO and I just want to listen to what your problem was. And let them scream at you. They're going to yell at you. They're going to be frustrated. They can't hurt you, but you need to take that information and you need to make adjustments in your business. Right? It's the only way to learn.
No, absolutely. And being able to take that is the way that you grow. You know, the smartest person in the room is willing to step back and say, hey, I don't know this certain thing and I don't know
Yeah.
where my customers are coming from. Let me go to the source. And yeah,
Yeah.
they might yell at you, scream at you, but you've learned something. And now you might even be able to retrieve them again as customers since you've addressed their exact issue.
You're the CEO and you cared enough to call, Mary, who had a bad experience with shipping, or she had a bad experience because the product got destroyed or something, whatever happened, and listen to them, hear them out, compensate them for their time. But you just learned something about your customer. Right? You can never, ever, ever know enough about your customer, in my opinion. You just have to constantly learn about who they are. And that enables you to better target. All the great marketers in the world, whether they're brands, whether they're agencies, whatever, really are honed in on who their customer is.
Exactly. And, you know, your customer, each one of them needs something different. And each one of your, say, if you're an agency and you have different clients, each of them are going to need something. Even if they're in the same industry, they're going to have a different story, different targets, different tactics. That's why, when we do our omni-channel approach and people come to me about maybe certain packages, I let them know that we try to do, different for everyone. One size doesn't fit all. So we don't have technical packages. And if, maybe you do, then that's the way you do business. But in my position, that's not what we're doing. So you've worked with a mix of internal teams and external specialists. And how do you determine when to bring in those external expertise?
Oh, yeah. There's certain things that we're just not good at. I have a team of people. We can do short form video. We're good at it. We can turn it around quick for social media, for ads, things like that. We're good at building content. I have people who can really write really well, great emails, things like that. When it comes to doing connected TV, you need to have great video production. You need to have somebody who really understands it and really can do the 4K quality product, end product that's going to wind up on television. And also scripting. We generally can lay out the overall script, but when it comes down to really building the script, you need an expert for that. Somebody who knows how to write a script that has the hooks in the right place. And then the other thing we do is we also outsource. We'll take the script once it's done. We'll give it to a comedy writer and say, or a comedian, right? Because there's a ton of these guys out there, and say, punch this up a bit, because people like funny. They don't want to. I don't care what kind of ads you're running. People like funny, serious. Everybody's serious in their daily life every day. They want a little. Nobody remembers the serious ad. They remember the funny ads, and so we do that, because I'm not a comedian. I can't do that. So really, when it comes to specialty things, if clients want something, we don't get involved. We're heavily involved in e-commerce, right? But we're not involved in other parts of e-commerce. Like when it comes to shipping, if they have problems with shipping, right? We have contacts, friends, people that own shipping companies that we can put them in touch with. We have guys that build boxes, right? Your packaging and things like that. We're not packaging designers. And it comes up every once in a while because we do the marketing and people want to know, how should I do this packaging? So we'll put them in touch with specialists that we work with. So, and B2B outreach, which comes up, or all kinds of things. So really, when it gets to specifics, we're really good at ad management, ad placement. We're great at evaluating numbers. We're great at evaluating content. But when it comes to the specialty stuff that you really need a specialist for, that's when we outsource it.
Amazing. I think it's so important to, stay in your expertise and have them stay in theirs and work together and collaborate. That's where you get some real things done.
I think one of the things our clients love about us is the fact that they know we, they know that we'll give them a great group to work with, and we're not taking a cut of it. Like we don't take, if we, you're doing your video, this is it. We'll help. We're getting paid for doing certain parts of it, but we're going to manage this and help you manage it, but we're not, dumping fees on top of it.
Absolutely. And, at the end of the day, that gets them the best results.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what we care about. We care about getting the best results. It gets us excited to when you get a video that hits.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you, you said you work with a lot of DSPs. Are you the people that are strategizing it and then giving it to the DSPs to place, or are they doing a lot of the strategizing?
We have we do the strategizing. We used to have contracts with a couple of DSPs for them to do the placement, but the person who does it on our end, we have a team that does like the ads. They learned it so well, and they really know the customer. So we've sort of become self-service on the DSPs for the most part, with the exception of one. But I do think we do a great job with it because we get great results. But what the reason is, we're on it every day. Like we look at what the results are every day. We make adjustments every day. I think when you do managed services, sometimes they look at it once a week. We like to look at it almost every day especially when we're just getting started with a new client, or we're just getting started on the DSP for a particular client. We want to make sure that we're growing it every single day. So we want to know what's happening.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And to me, it's the fun part.
Yeah. Well, I love data. I love data. I love the customers. I love any kind of feedback I can get on customers, and I'll read it. And then, it's funny because I think about it, and then all of a sudden at midnight, I'll go, that's what that number means. I'll wake up from my sleep and I'll go, that's what that number means. Now I get it.
I love that. You're just dreaming like, oh.
I probably was, I probably was. My wife goes, what the heck was that? I said, I just figured something out. It's no big
Eureka.
deal. Yeah, it's no big deal. I just figured out what that number meant.
I love it. And that's the true benefit of digital advertising, is that there is those conversions, the KPIs, the data that you can just learn so much from.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I grew up, we came up in traditional retail, brick and mortar retail. We were on early adopters for e-commerce and all that. But, in today's world, I mean, we did traditional advertising, newspaper advertising, billboards, I've done it all, television, traditional television. And I hated it because you don't know. Everybody just feeds you impressions. That's all we had. But when we started on e-commerce and we saw the data coming back and we saw what could be, that just, to me, it was like, because I love data, and that's what I love about e-commerce. I can track anything. And I love that.
Absolutely. It's so satisfying. It really
I know.
is.
It is.
Well, Phil, this has been an incredible conversation. Your insights on scaling brands, the shift in digital advertising, the power of CTV and influencer marketing are invaluable. And for anyone listening who wants to learn more about CrunchGrowth's approach to brand growth and strategy marketing, check them out at crunchgrowth.com or connect with Phil on LinkedIn. Phil, what was your LinkedIn?
Phil Masiello.
Amazing. So,
Yeah.
Phil, thank you so much again for joining me. This was fantastic.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I love talking about marketing. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys for listening. And now it's my turn to be on Phil's show.